Hello students, how are you all? I hope that you all are very fine at your home. Today I am going to start very important chapter of class 9th chemistry. As you all know that in chemistry there are 4 chapters in your syllabus. Out of this 4th chapter, one chapter today I will discuss. Students, you know science is divided into 2 parts, 3 parts: physics, chemistry and biology. As you can see that myself Santosh Kumar Charosia, PGT Chemistry in the Bhopal region at Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya, Thandla, District Jhabua, Madhya Pradesh. Students, we know that we are live our life at our house. You know this house, you can see this a beautiful picture here. This is called our house. If you go through this house, you can see that this house is made up of very small particles called, so many particles are there like cement, concrete, sand, bricks. But if you go through the smallest particle of this house, you can say that this brick is the smallest particle of this house. Similarly, in class 8th you have studied in science that cell chapter. You know this is the human body. Human body is made up of cell, and cell is called as the building block of human body, human life. So in similar way, we all knowing that where we live, we are surrounded with different types of things, and these things are called matters. Matters are those who has certain mass and occupy space. You can see I have taken some photos for you. You can see these things are in your surroundings, and you know that these things are made up of very small particles called atoms. So today we will discuss about the chapter atoms and molecule. I have divided this chapter into three parts for your study point of view, so that you can take a small topics easily. Today I will discuss the very first chapter, that is atoms and molecule part 1. The learning objective of the today's part 1 chapter is laws of conservation of mass. What are the laws of conservation of mass? What is the law of constant proportion? What is Dalton's atomic theory, and what is atom? So my today's goals is like this. So we will discuss the law of conservation of mass, law of constant proportion, postulates of Dalton's atomic theory, and definition of atom. Students, if you go through the the very starting of the topic, India is very important, play important role in this topic. The one in the 500 BC, one philosopher, great Indian philosopher is there, named as Maharshi Kanad. Maharshi Kanad, he postulates that if we keep on dividing the matters called as padarth, we will find a very smaller and smaller particles, and soon we will achieve the smallest of the particle called परमाणु, which will be never not be divided further. मीन्स इन्होंने बताया कि अगर हम कोई एक बड़ा पदार्थ लेते हैं और इसको हम तोड़ते जाते हैं तो ये छोटा में टूटेगा, और तोड़ते जाएं तो और छोटा में टूटेगा, और तोड़ते जाएं तो एक ऐसी स्थिति बन जाएगी कि अब वो और तोड़ा नहीं जा सकता. इन्हीं छोटे छोटे चीजों को उन्होंने परमाणु नाम दिया था, और उसी को आगे चल करके एटम्स कहा गया. तो ये महर्षि कनद जी थे. who explain that when we divide the matter will broken down into simplest and simplest. A time will come when they will not be broken down more further. Next one is the Fukuda Katayama. He said that these particles normally exist in a combined form which give us various forms of matters. This Katayama said that these particles normally exist in a combined form and they forms different forms of matter. So this is all about the Indian philosophers and their work. Now we'll see the Greek philosophers. The ancient Greek philosophers like Democritus, Leucippus suggested that if we go on dividing matter, a stage will come when particle obtained cannot be divided further. Democritus called these invisible particles as atoms. So this is the point of idea of divisibility by Greek philosophers. Let's move forward. Students, we also know that a lot of chemical reactions take place in our day-to-day life. Making of tea, you can see. This is conversion of milk into curd. We can see different types of things happening in our surroundings. These are some examples we are saying. So all the chemical reactions taking place obey certain set of laws. Let us study these chemical reactions and rule that they obey. So question comes, what is chemical reaction? If you see the chemical reaction, the process by which some substance react to form a new substance. The substance which react is called reactant. If you see this, suppose there are A and B are the two substances, they react with each other, form C and D. This A and B together is called as reactant, and after the reaction with A and B, the newly substance is formed called product. So if you go through any chemical reaction, we see two things. One is reactant, another is product. So A and B are the reactant and C and D are the products. So in any chemical reaction there are two parts, reactant parts and product parts. When reactant parts react with each other, they form product. For example, we see the milk. If you in a lukewarm milk, if you add a small drop of curd, after a certain period of time, we see that this luke milk converted into curd. So this milk is a reactant and curd is a product. So very important topic, that is our objective of the day, is laws of chemical combination. There are two main laws of chemical combinations established by Lavoisier and Joseph L. Proust. These two laws are law of conservation of mass and laws of constant or definite proportions. So today we will discuss about what are the laws of chemical combination. Lavoisier and Joseph L. Proust explain that there are two laws of chemical combination. First is the law of conservation of mass, another is the law of constant proportion. If you go to the first law of chemical combination, that is law of conservation of mass, as the name suggests, conservation means बच्चों किसी चीज को बचाए रखना, mass. So it states that mass cannot be created nor be destroyed in any chemical reaction. So mass of reactant is always equal to the mass of product. For example, you see this A react with B to form C plus D, means A is these are reactant and these are called product. These reactant and react with each other to form product. So this law says that the mass of this reactant is always equal to the mass of product. There will be never difference. If difference is there, this rule is not applied in this reaction. Means if any reaction is going on, it follows the same. Means mass cannot be created nor be destroyed. If you see this, I would like to explain this law of conservation of mass with example. For example, H2 plus O2 give rise to H2O. First of all, we just balance it. So now it is balanced. We know that these two are the reactant and these two are the product. Hydrogen atomic mass is 1. So 2 into 2 is plus 2 into 16 give rise to 2H2O. 2 4 plus 32 2 into 18. So 4 plus 32 is equal 36. 18 to the 36. If you see this, you can say that this reaction is following law of conservation of mass. Means always the mass of reactant is always equal to the mass of product. According to this law, mass cannot be created, cannot be destroyed. So mass of reactant is always equal to the mass of product. Second law is the law of constant or definite proportion. This states that element combines in their definite proportion of mass to give compounds, or in a chemical substance the elements are always present in definite proportion by mass. Let us see this example. Try to understand this. This theory states that the elements which are making together, there is certain proportions are required. They always combine together in a certain definite proportion, and that law is called law of constant proportion. For example, if you see this H2O, means H2O is made up of hydrogen and oxygen. So if you go through the this reaction, hydrogen and oxygen combine together to form water. So whenever, if you see this reaction, the hydrogen and oxygen will be 1:8 ratio always. Let us see how it is happening. So we know that this water, if you see this atomic mass, hydrogen atomic mass is 2 and oxygen atomic mass is 16. Simplify it. See, means whenever water is formed, they will be in the 1:8 ratio. For example, let's see another example, CO2. CO2, you can see this carbon, hydrogen and carbon is there to make the carbon dioxide. Carbon atomic mass is 12 and oxygen atomic mass is 16, so it will be 32. Simplify it. 2 6 are 12, 2 16 are 32. Again simplify it. 2 3 are 8 and 2 8 are 16. So carbon and carbon dioxide by mass, if you consider, these both are in the terms of mass, students. Kindly understand and try to understand. Always carbon in 3 ratio and oxygen in 8 ratio combine together to form CO2. So there will be always a fixed proportion. This is a fixed proportion. If you want to make carbon dioxide by taking 3:8 ratio of mass, you can make water. If you want to make water, you have to take 1 oxygen, 1 hydrogen and 8 oxygen in the term of their mass. then we can form this water. Now let's proceed. So third topic of the important our class is Dalton atomic theory. As per the theory, all matter, whether it is an element or compound or mixture, consists of teeny invisible particles called atoms. John Dalton stated that it may be any compound. John Dalton, born in 1766, he is from a very poor weaver family in England and become a teacher at the age of 12 students. In 808, he proposed this theory, and according to this theory, all the elements, all the compounds or mixture is always made up of a small invisible particles called atoms. Milton supposed that the particle which they cannot be broken down more simpler terms. In the later topic, we will discuss what is their drawbacks, why it is not succeeded in their target, but it was a very starting attempt, and Dalton's atomic theory was very much popular among science. So Dalton stated that all matters, whether it is an element or a compound or a mixture, consist of teeny invisible particles called atoms. If you go to the postulates of atomic theory, Dalton atomic theory, the Dalton atomic theory consists of following important points. The first important point is that all matters is made up of very teeny particles called atoms. Dalton suggested that any type of matter is there in the earth's surface, it is made up of atoms. So he suggested that any type of matter is there, it made up of atoms. Atoms are indivisible particles. In the previous slide, I told you all students that John Dalton believed that atoms cannot be divided into their simplest particles. That's why they used term indivisible particles. But later time, due course of time, it was discarded that no, atoms can be broken down into their simplest forms. So atoms are divisible. But John Dalton suggested that atoms are indivisible particles. Next thing is that atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed. Law of conservation of mass. According to Dalton, atoms को नहीं बनाया जा सकता, नहीं बिगाड़ा जा सकता है. Next hypothesis of this John Dalton atomic theory is that atoms of same element are similar. According to this theory, if there is hydrogen, means it is made up of H and H. Oxygen made up of O and O, not O and L, not O and N. So similar element, atoms of same elements are always similar. Atoms of different elements are different. So this is the fifth postulate of the atomic theory, that different elements have different atoms. Atoms combine in the ratio of a small whole number to form a compound. Very important line, you can understand it. According to this theory, always atoms take part in any reaction in a whole number, not in 0.1, 1 by 2, 0.5, 0.75, not. It is always found in 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. The relative number and kinds of atom are constant in given compound. For any given compound, the number and kinds of atom are always constant. So this is I have put this figure to simplify the concept. According to Dalton suggested that suppose this is one substance, it may be broken down, again it is broken down, again broken, and lastly formed like this. And this teeny particles they called as atoms. And he supposed that they are now indivisible. Then you know that if there is certain goodness, undoubtedly there will be some faults are there, some drawbacks are there. Dalton's atomic theory has certain drawbacks also. The Dalton's atomic theory, main drawback of Dalton atomic theory, that he emphasized that atoms are indivisible, while in the further in the coming time it was discovered that these atoms can be again broken down to electron, proton and neutrons. So this theory was discarded only on this point. So he thinks that he suggested that atoms cannot be divided again, but as the studies improved, as the advancement done, it was found that they are made up of electron, proton and neutrons. Again, very important topic, that is, what is an atom? What is an atom? I already in the very starting point of the topic I told that in our surrounding different types of substance are found. Every substance occupies certain space and has certain mass. So if any substance is occupying space and have certain mass is called matter, and each matter is made up of atoms. So atom is the smallest particle. If you see this figure, for more understanding I use this figure for your betterment, that suppose this is one matter. If you go through this matter, we can see that matter is made up of very small particles, and these small particles are called atoms. Atoms are very small. They are smaller than anything that we can imagine or compare with. The size of an atom is measured by its atomic radius, and atomic radius is measured in nanometer. 1 nanometer is equal 10 to the power minus 9 meter. The atomic radius of hydrogen is 10 to the power minus 10 meter, which is the smallest in among all the atoms found on the Earth's surface. So the smallest, sometimes in your examination it was asked that name the element who has smallest atomic radius. The answer will be hydrogen. So this is a comparative view about the different atomic radius of different substance. Ant have 10 to the power minus 2 meter atomic radius. Grain of sand has 10 to the power minus 4, and the molecule of hemoglobin is 10 to the power minus 8 meter, and molecules of water is 10 to the power minus 9, while this hydrogen have 10 to the power minus 9, which is the smallest among all. So students, today we have discussed about what is chemical reaction, and we saw that any chemical reaction is consists of two things, reactant and products. Reactants react with each other to form products, and there is two laws of chemical combinations: law of conservation of mass and law of definite proportion. Law of conservation of mass states that matter cannot be created, cannot be destroyed, while the mass of law of definite proportion states that any element in any compounds, elements are always present in of their definite proportion. In a pure chemical compounds, elements are always present in different proportion by mass, and this is called law of definite proportion. And lastly, we have saw that atoms are very smallest particle of any element, which cannot be usually exist independently and retain all its chemical properties. So this is all about the some home assignment is there for you. So you try to solve it at your home, and hope you can understand what I try to convey. Thank you very much.